Hello, and welcome to the Varia Historia channel. Today we have the honor of interviewing Benedetta Albani, who is the lead researcher of the group Normative Knowledge in the Praxis of the Congregation of the Council at the Max Planck Institute for Legal History and Legal Theory in Germany, and a professor at the Universidad de los Andes in Chile. Her main research interests revolve around the history of the Congregation of the Council, the relationships between the Holy See and Ibero-América, and the modeling and visualization of historical data in digital environments. Professor Benedetta is visiting the Universidade Federal de Minas Gerais as a guest speaker at the 22nd Legal History Meeting, The History of Normative Production in Modernity, a conference held to commemorate the 10th anniversary of Studium Juris, research group on the history of legal culture. Among her publications, I would like to highlight 3 collective volumes on normativities in ecclesiastical institutions in different viceroyalties of colonial Hispanic America, which she co-organized with Otto Danveat, Thomas Duve, and Pilar Mejia, and which were published in the Max Planck series Global Perspectives on Legal History between 2018 and 2020. The article A Governança da Igreja escrita entre o nacional e o global, a presença das congregações cardinalícias em manuais brasileiros de direito eclesiástico do século XIX, written in collaboration with myself, Ana Clara Lema Martins, and which we published together in 2020 in the Brazilian journal Almanac. And the article Achille Stazio, una carriera curiale in un periodo di cambiamento, published in 2024 in the collective volume Il nostro Stazio dottissimo, Achille Statius Lusitanus Humanista. This last work, which she co-authored with Isabella Iannuzzi, will constitute one of the topics of our conversation. Well, Professor Benedetta, thank you so much for accepting our invitation. And well, here is the first question. Well, Achille Stazio, a Portuguese humanist who spent most of his career in Rome, served as one of the secretaries of the Congregation of the Council. What exactly was this institution, and why does it constitute one of the main domains of your current research? And drawing on your chapter on Stazio, what can his trajectory tell us about the dynamics of the Catholic Church during what you term a time of change?
First of all, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Anna, for this interview and for your presentation, and thank you to Viva Historia for the interview. I'm very happy to share with you some of my recent works. As for the chapter on Stazio, in which I work with my colleague Isabella Iannuzzi, she's a specialist of the she's an historian, specialist in the early modernity, especially the relationship between the papacy and Spain. And we discovered that we were interested in this person because he was also for a short time a secretary of the Congregation of the Council. This body was founded in Rome by the Pope just after the Council of Trent, with the aim of operating this council that had a global importance and was active and applicable all over the world. So the Pope felt the necessity to build a body composed by cardinals that could help him in spreading the Council of Trent all over the world. Okay, so the Congregation of the Council was established in 1564 by Pius IV as the first permanent cardinal congregation after the Council of Trent. Its responsibilities were further defined and expanded by another pope, Sextus V, in 1588, and the congregation was entrusted with the implementation of the Council of Trent and its provision all over the world, and from the outset was also assigned a specific task in the area of establishing norms, maintaining relations with local churches, gathering information at a global level and preserving it. After a few years, the congregation became responsible for coordinating the so-called visitaciones ad limina, that is the communication between the local churches, the bishops, and the Roman Curia, and was also responsible for approving the decisions of provincial councils. In addition, the Congregation of the Council has extensive power in matters of jurisdictions and the granting of papal graces, and could, this is also very important, was the only body that was entrusted with the authentical interpretation of the decrees of the Council of Trent on behalf of the Pope. So, looking at this institution and the huge archive that is kept at the moment in the Vatican Apostolic Archive, you can have a deep knowledge about the connections between the papacy and the local churches in all the early modern period and until the modern times, because from the dioceses, from the religious orders, from all the also very tiny, very isolated ecclesiastical institutions all over the world, arrived to Rome their dubia, that is doubts or requests or questions about how to apply correctly the Council of Trent. So this was a very important body, not very well studied until now, but I would say one of the most important cardinal congregation in Rome. You may remember the names of other congregations like the Inquisition or Propaganda Fide that was responsible for missions and missionaries all over the world. So the Congregation of the Council usually doesn't appear so often in our readings until now, but we are working on it. And this brings me to again to Achille Stazio. So he was a humanist, quite an important figure in the Roman Curia at the very beginning of the history of the Congregation of the Council, and we discovered with my colleague Isabella Iannuzzi that he insisted to become one of the secretary of the congregation. This is a kind of very clear experience or very clear example of how the Roman Curia worked in that time. There were a lot of different powers that were building and growing in Rome, so not only the Pope, but also the cardinals, members of the congregations, the congregation themselves. If you wanted to be active in the Roman Curia, you needed to somehow be near some cardinals or some of these powers growing in Rome. And Stazio was very good at that. So he, at the first time, he was not appointed as a secretary, but he insisted so much, and we have some letters that he wrote to some of the cardinals, members of the Congregation of the Council, and they changed their mind and appointed him as the first secretary for a short period of time, because he was just substituting the first secretary, it was Giulio Poggiani. And why is this interesting to me especially, and in general for our knowledge? First, because Stazio is an important figure in this time, so it's very, I think, important to complete our knowledge about his biography and his path in Rome. And secondly, because these first figures of secretaries in the Congregation of the Council can help us to understand how this institution worked. I discovered that the very first secretaries were humanists, so they came from a classical, Renaissance formation. They were appointed to write letters in good Latin, and they were, of course, very good at that. Many of them also were active as personal secretaries of some of the cardinals of this congregation and other congregations. But then, some years after, and Stazio is a bit a turning point in this, something changed. So we see more and more secretaries coming from the jurisprudence. They were graduated in law, so they could bring to the congregation and to the Roman Curia a different kind of knowledge and praxis. And this is why I am so interested in the figure of Achille Stazio and also all the other secretaries. Actually, the secretary in the congregation had a specific, a very important role compared also with secretaries of other congregations, because he had he could vote with a consultative vote together with the cardinals. So his role is a bit more prominent than the one of other secretaries that worked at the same time in other fields in Roman Curia.
Well, our next question would be, well, many of your recent works address data modeling and methods for visualizing historical data in digital environments. Could you tell us a bit about your latest research in this area?
Yes, thank you. This is something that occupied my days quite a lot in the last months and years. I mean, when I started the research group, I faced a situation related with the archives of the Congregation of the Council that was a very particular one. The archives are kept in the Vatican archive, but a big part of the archive is not inventoried. That means that as a user, if you want to read these documents, you don't have any key, you don't have any help to know what is in this volume or in this other volume. So I started together in cooperation with the Vatican Archive, a reorganization and inventory of this part of the archive, and also other series that are miscellaneous series, so again quite complicated to deal with. And I was looking for a functional way to deal with such a variety and quantity of sources. In the PhD students and other researchers that worked in my research group, they were also doing their research using other archives like local ecclesiastical archives of the religious orders. So we were really building somehow a great and a very interesting corpus of archival documents coming from all over the world. So I was looking for a functional way for working with these documents and organizing them and presenting them to the audience, to the scientific community. And I thought that digital methods could offer a good help in this field. For this reason, I started studying data modeling and ontologies, especially. I'm not a programmer myself, and I can rely on good help in this field. But I think that as an historian and in general as scholars, we should participate in this dialogue between history or legal history and other disciplines, also if they are very technical. So there are a lot of things that we can learn, and also there are a lot of fields where we can give our contribution. And this is the case of data modeling. So data modeling is somehow creating a structure in which then you put your data coming from your documents or also your, I don't know, bibliographical research, whatever. And of course, if the structure that you build for your data is created on the basis of scientific knowledge, then you can be rely on a certain scientificity of how the data then are not only kept and saved, but also how you can search them. And this is what I am doing in the research group, and also in a dialogue with other colleagues that are also interested in this field. We are building an online platform that is called SEC Explorer Platform. SEC is Sacra Congregatio Concili, so is the platform for exploring the history and the documents of the Congregation of the Council. And in this platform, we will present not only the results of our research, but also a set of images of the documents, visualizations of different kinds, graphs, maps, bibliographical data, databases where you can find all the data that we kept from the archival documents. So this will be a kind of crossroad of different projects and resources, with the aim of helping other scholars to start or to conduct research on the Congregation of the Council. And maybe just another thought. So I always saw digital methods not only as a way for publishing our work or our knowledge. I mean, this is of course one of the possible ways you use digital humanities, but I think this is not the only one. In my case, what I found particularly interesting and challenging is looking at, for example, data modeling or other areas of digital humanities as a heuristic tool for understanding better my research, my data, my documents. And of course, this heuristic function can be or arises only if you, as a historian, participate in somehow organizing your data and trying to find the correct solutions for dealing with particular set of data, like for example, uncertain data or unclear information that you find, that we all find as historians in the archives, in the document. Or we have also this same problem in the case of mapping. How do we represent in a graphic way? How can we map some concepts or the presence, for example, of the activities of the Congregation of the Council? How can we represent this in a map? The risk is that you can create quite easily quite a superficial map, so using, I don't know, tools that we will know, but this map will not, also doesn't rely on historical data. So what we are trying to do is to make our historical data available for being used in a digital context. And this is I would say, the challenging part.
Well, our last question then. To wrap up, I would like to hear some of your impressions about the ongoing debate on open access regarding archival sources. More specifically, how can your extensive research experience with the Apostolic Vatican Archive provide insight into the advancement of the so-called FAIR principles?
Yes, thank you very much. This is a very interesting question that doesn't touch only historians or legal historians, but I would say that we will talk about it quite often in the future. So I'm an archivist myself. I studied archival science, paleography and diplomatic, and I'm also an historian. So what I really believe is important to know and to really don't forget are the different roles of archives. So some scholars think that archives are there only for permitting us to go there and find our documents and doing our research. This is only one of the purposes of archives. So actually archives born naturally after or during the activity of a body, an administrative body. So archives can exist also without scholars, without historians. And the main role, the main aim of an archive is to preserve these documents, but not only for like aesthetic purposes or because these documents are nice and we preserve ancient documents, but because these documents have a meaning, a juridical meaning that should be maintained safe. So there is an important juridical role of the archive that sometimes we forget. And this is particularly true in the case of ecclesiastical archives. Think, for example, the parish archives, so the registers of sacraments, the baptism registers, etc. They are not only a way for listing people that got to the baptism, but they are every day used as a proof of existence, for example, for asking for the Italian citizenship or asking for a passport. So the fact that a parish archive or a diocesan archive, where usually parish archives are kept now, has to keep these documents safe, not only because they are old, not only because scholars want to have access to this information, but because they have legal importance and a legal meaning. And what happened when we digitalize all these documents? So that there are some approaches in this sense, like, okay, now we have quite easy access to digitization, so we could imagine to digitize everything. I think that here we face not a technical problem, because we know that this is theoretically possible. Also, if, for example, the Vatican Archive is around 85 kilometers, so this process would take quite long. But I don't think that the technical part is a difficult one. There is we should answer this question before. So why an archive should let another institution digitize something that is a legal document that can be used as a proof and should be kept in this archive in order to being considered as a legal document. So in this case, I feel like the archivist. So as an archivist myself, I am a bit against this idea of digitizing everything, because I really don't think that this is a good service for the archives and also for scholars, because the risk is that then archives that are also a meeting point for scholars working on different topics, for people coming from different countries and meeting, for example, in Sevilla, in the Archivo de Indias, or in Rome, in the Archivo Vaticano, they would lose people, so they would lose this part of, customers or visitors that bring a lot to the archive. So if an archive is accessible online, who would then travel to Rome or travel to Seville? So I think that we should look at these possibilities, technological possibilities, with some attention to other topics, and I think that the legal role of the archive is one of this. There are a lot of examples of falsification of documents, of digitized documents, and I mean, it's pretty easy to manipulate an image, and when the archive has no control anymore on these images, then the risk is really that you can declare the false, you can create false historical documents. Another risk is that people can build in their own computer a kind of local personal archive made by images, and we know that this is very practical because you can sit on your desk and work on your thesis and having your sources there. Great. But I think that at the end, this is not a good approach to research, because you extract these documents from their context while deciding to digitize them. So you select the document, and in many cases this selection is made very quickly. So you go to the archive and in one morning you decide what you need, what you want to bring with you. And these documents remain a bit orphans, so they are not connected anymore with the other documents in the archive. And in an archive is very important to maintain visible and to pay attention to the bond that exists between each document in the archive and the other documents. So an archive is very different from a library. So in a library, each book has a kind of personal identity that can exist also outside this library and independently from the other books that you have in this library. In the archive, things don't work like this. So it's really important for researchers at any stage of their career that they keep looking at the archives as a unit, and then work on some documents, of course, but not losing this idea of the completeness of the archive. There is another point, and is of course that we all know that digitization is a very powerful tool that we have. So I'm not against digitalization, but I think that the archives themselves and the institutions that own the archives and the documents that they preserve should be the main actors in a campaign of digitization, for example. This can be done also in cooperation with universities or other institutions, but I think that archives should be there. So this is their patrimony, and they must be in a prominent position in this. So I don't like when institutions come to the archives, or also private scholars go to the archives and digitize things for their own interest without, for example, creating a connection or creating a clear cooperation project with the archive. And this, unfortunately, happened many times, and I think that this is really not good for the archives, because they lose control over their own properties. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Professor Benedetta, once again, on behalf of the entire Varia Historia team, I'd like to thank you for your kindness and willingness to speak with us. And we invite everyone to explore our channel and check out other interviews produced by Varia Historia. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.